is Skylar with Nancy Ridge Farm, and today I am grinding deer meat. So deer season just ended yesterday, actually. And we've had this deer in the fridge for several days. I have all of the meat cut up. So for the grinder, you want it to be cut up into pieces to be able to fit into the funnel here. So I have all of it cut up. I don't have my fat cut up yet. So for deer meat is a leaner meat. You want to kind of cut out all of that fat because a lot of times that fat is what holds on to that gamey flavor that people don't like. So we cut out all of that fat, all the sinew and all the pieces, so it's ready to go in the fridge. And you want your meat to be a little bit cold running it through. It just grinds better, it's easier to handle. And the same thing with your fat. So I'm using pork fat today. This pork fat is from our pigs that we process from our farm. But you can get fat from the grocery store pretty easily. You could do pork fat, you could do beef fat, you could do any fat that you want, but we have an abundance of pork fat, so that is what we're gonna use. So deer meat is a leaner meat and we like that. And we're gonna do all this just burger meat. We're not doing sausage or anything. But we like to do an 85-15% ratio. So 85% lean ground meat, 15% ground fat with it to be a leaner meat than usual. So in the grocery store, a lot of people will do an 80-20 ratio. So I'm gonna cut up this fat like I did the deer meat to run through the grinder easier. And I wanna make sure it's cold. So I'm gonna cut it up and then I'm gonna put it back in the fridge for a little bit to make sure it's nice and cold to be able to handle. Otherwise the fat gets to room temperature. It's a little bit slippy. It's harder to handle in that way too. So you wanna make sure your meat and your fat are really cold whenever you're doing this. And we run it through twice. This has 2 plates. One is a little bit bigger and the second one's smaller, just to kind of get a finer grind on it. So I'll run it through the big one once and then I'll mix it up, run it back through on that second one that's a little bit smaller. That's what we prefer. Some people just run it once through the bigger one and that's fine. This is something very important to us as a family, to be able to hunt our own meat, to be able to raise our own meat, and to be able to process our own meat in the way that we like, with the ingredients that we want that are important to our family. So being able to do this, it's a chore. It's gonna be time consuming. It's probably gonna take most of my day. But in the end product, to be able to get, I don't know, around 35 pounds of ground meat for the year, that is huge. It's important to us. So I'm gonna take this fat and cut it up and weigh out how much I need. I have 31 pounds of meat that I've already weighed, and so I need, I wrote it down, 4 pounds and 10 ounces of fat for that 25% fat, for that 15% fat ratio to 85% meat. So the really nice thing about processing your own meat is that you get to customize it however you want. You don't have to go through a processor or butcher and just have to do whatever they have, whatever their options are. You customize it to what you want, and that's why we're able to do the fat ratio that we would do. Usually they would have a set one, and if you were to customize it, usually that drives the price up. So being able to do it yourself, you're saving a lot of money to do that as well. All right, I'm getting the grinder set up. This is a game winner grinder, and I got it at Academy. Eventually we will definitely get like a more commercial grade, but for now this works. So it fits our needs for right now, and that's all we need it to. Ready? Ready, Booney? You ready, Booney? So I have my meat, and I'll go get the fat. I put the fat back in the freezer for a little while because it was getting soft on me. But I'll feed both of it through like the same time. I have found that makes mixing it a lot easier, because doing the meat and then doing the fat and then making sure it gets nice and incorporated, it's a lot of meat to handle. So it's just easier to me to mix it, running both of it through at the same time. So I had my first grind done. It really didn't take very long. It honestly took probably twice as long as normal just because I was filming most of it. So it definitely filled this entire wash tub up. So I know the limit for it now. But you can kind of see it's pretty coarse still, pretty big, a little bit chunky for me. So I'm going to pop this in the fridge for a little bit because it's pretty warm now. Pop it in the fridge, probably do some more chores around the house, do some homeschool, and then we'll get back to doing this. All right, I got in a rush and I almost forgot to change my plate out. So we'll go ahead and do that now. A little bit of meat. The kids are playing really nicely. The baby's doing good. Kind of have to work it off a little bit since I already tried to start grinding meat. I do my plate. Here we go. I'm gonna put that little one on. Find that same notch. Put it on. Cinch it up. All right, now we're ready to go. So I had to stop, take a break, deal with all the children. I'm back now. So because I took a break, I didn't want to wash all of this again. I just took this whole attachment off and put it in the fridge. That way I didn't have to rewash, or I didn't have to wash everything off, and then it would just be too much. So I just took the whole thing off, put it in the fridge, putting it back on. So now it's just ready to go, and it's nice and cold as well as the meat. So I'm a little over halfway done with grinding the second round. It definitely takes longer to do it. It's just easier to put those pieces of meat through and run it than putting the already ground back through, especially being mixed in with that fat. It just wants to clump together and it's just slower going. And also this plate that sits on top is so annoying. It does not, it's not fastened on there, it just sits on there. So it can come on and off. It just doesn't, it's not secure enough. And you can tell there's meat coming out from under it. So when I push down with the meat stomper, it wants to come off. So I'm finally done. It definitely took longer than I would have liked, but this is also about 35 pounds of meat. So it is a large amount. I'm going to vacuum seal these in 1 pound and 2 pound packages, just because I tried to cook in a way that we have leftovers. So 2 pounds a lot of time is what I'll use. So I might do like a half and half, but this will last us a good while since our beef is running out in the freezer. So now that I have it all ground, I'm gonna go ahead and I like to weigh it all out first. I'm the kind of gal I like to do one step till I'm completely done, and then do the next step until I'm completely done, instead of weighing it out, packaging, weighing it out, packaging. So I'll weigh all of this out and then I will package all of it. This is the vacuum sealer that I use. I just got it off Amazon. It works all right for what we need. It's slower than I'd like. I do use the Food Saver bags because they're really good quality and I feel like they hold up really well. But this is the one that I use. I would probably prefer the Food Saver over this one, but I do like how it holds the bags on the inside. So this is butcher paper. I just have a very large roll of it and make all my 1 pounds. It's just easier to make them all and then package them all. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, it is all done. 34 pounds of venison going in the freezer. These are 1 pound. This is what 2 pounds looks like. And it is seriously just such a blessing to be able to put this meat in the freezer and to be able to use it throughout the year. And ground meat is just such a versatile meat to be able to use in so many dishes. And I use ground venison just like I would use ground beef, ground pork in any recipes. You can just substitute it in. We really like it. It will provide a lot of meals for us, and I hope you enjoyed that and it gave you some confidence to be able to do this yourself. And I guarantee that if I can do it, you can definitely do it. That grinder is from Academy. I got the vacuum sealer off of Amazon, and the pork is from Our Pigs, but you could just as easily get that from a grocery store. There's not anything keeping you from being able to do this yourself and to have your own meat in your freezer. So I just wanted to encourage you in that, and thank you for watching and supporting our channel.